Hello and welcome to Spirit Among Us. We all want our lives to have meaning. We want to have good lives, lives that we enjoy. It may sound cliche to say this, but many of us strive to live life to the fullest. Now, quite honestly, this is a great desire to have. It's good for us to want this, to want to have a purposeful life, a life of meaning, a life that makes a difference. And I believe that it's a desire that God has given us, a desire to make a difference and to better the world. Unfortunately, however, we often try to go about this as we see fit, and that doesn't always work out. You see, our perspective is very limited. We only know the present and our past. Those are the only two things we can see. We can look into our past and see what has happened, and we can see the present, what is currently happening. But as far as the future is concerned, we know nothing about it. I can't tell you where I'll be in 5 years, or even 5 minutes from now, because I just don't know. It's not guaranteed. I can't answer that because I don't see the future. And so this is the problem with us relying on our own understanding when living our lives. Yes, our heart might be in the right place to make a good difference, to share the love of Jesus or to share the gospel or whatever it may be, whatever desire that you have in your heart to serve God while you're alive on this earth. These are all good things. But we can't do them alone. We can't rely on our own understanding, on our own ability to do them. We aren't called to do everything on our own. But instead, we are called to look to Jesus and follow His instruction. Matthew chapter 7, verse 24. Everyone then who hears these words of mine and does them will be like a wise man who built his house on the rock. Now, Jesus makes a declaration here, and I want to look a little closer at the statement that he makes. It's a two-step instruction that he gives us. Notice how he isn't just telling us to do what he's commanding. He's not just telling us to do what he says. I mean, he is telling us to do that, but before we follow his word, we need to hear his word. Everyone then who hears these words of mine and does them will be like a wise man. So you see, this is what we need to be doing. We need to be listening. We need to be hearing what God is saying. So often in life, we want to make our own decisions and carve our own path. We're convinced that we know the best path for our lives. And we may even go as far as to ignore God's guidance for us. But this is a terribly foolish mistake. He knows what is best. He knows how we can live the best lives possible. And He wants us to be hungry to hear His word. He wants us to desire to know His will in each and every circumstance. But we won't hear Him. We won't hear what God is trying to say if we don't listen. John chapter 10 verses 27 and 28 say this. My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. I give them eternal life, and they will never perish, and no one will snatch them out of my hand. Jesus declares that His sheep, those people that follow Him, hear His voice. So that means if we consider ourselves to be His, to belong to His family, if we want to be a people who are following Jesus, then we need to hear His voice. And we cannot hear His voice if we don't listen. Now, one of the best ways that we can be continually listening to God's instruction is through reading His word. He has given us such insight into Himself and the way we should live and love while we're here on this earth. And that is through the Bible. He's given us such a comprehensive revelation of how we should live our lives. Without taking advantage of this, we really miss out on what God is trying to say. We should also be praying and continually keeping our hearts open to Him, surrendering our will to Him, and that is key. I think it's our natural instinct to just try to figure things out and do things on our own. We think that we know what's best, we know what we want, and so we know what's best, but we don't. We don't actually know what's best for us. Only God does. So surrendering our will to Him is crucial. If we're just asking for instruction, it isn't very helpful if we don't actually want it. So overall, if we want to live our lives like the wise man building his house on a rock, then we need to be listening for the instruction of Jesus. Thank you for watching, and God bless.